Hello, John Weber in South Carolina, Hilton Head Island today on the roof. I want to introduce to you the 7 must-know things when buying a home in South Carolina. We're going to go over every one of them one by one, and they are without a doubt the most important things when selecting a home to buy in this area. With that, let's get to it. Number 1 of all the things with buying these houses and everything else is you gotta have a good roof. And the roofs around here in the Hilton Head Bluffton area are good for about 20, 25, maybe even 30 years. But you need a good roof. With the storms that come through here, and I'm not talking about hurricanes, I'm just talking about storms, you wanna have a good roof. And when you buy a home, you're going to get it inspected and make sure the roof is strong. So, number 1 thing is a good, strong roof. Number 2 on the list of 7 items, must-know items when you buy a home down here is the HVAC system. This is a heat pump. This is what we use down here. It rarely gets below freezing, and it's very important to have a good, strong heat pump. They have a life expectancy, depending on the brand and what kind it is, or size and all that, maybe 8 to 12 years, maybe 15 if it stretches. But we run them hard down here because of the heat in the summer. So it's always going. It needs to be, a good homeowner is going to service it 2-3 times a year, so it's well maintained, but you've got to have a good HVAC system. And all inspectors will check this, just like the roof. This is a biggie also. So 2 down, we've got more to go. Number 3, polybutylene pipes. In the garage right here, you may have a hot water heater up above. We put that a lot in houses. Could be in the garage. An inspector is going to look for this, and they're going to be looking for polybutylene pipes. Polybutylene pipes are gray in nature. They're stamped PB, I believe, on the pipe, and they built a lot of houses, actually all over the country in the 80s, and we have a lot of homes that were built in the 80s on the island and in Bluffton. And they used polybutylene pipes, they were a plastic compound, and the resin inside the pipes began to fail because it connected with whatever, chemicals in the water or whatever, and they would break. And they soon discovered all this, and what they did was they improved it by changing the couplings out on the pipes and made them copper couplings. Seems to help the situation. To each its own. It's always good to know, do you have the polybutylene pipes? You can search it on the internet, but they are down here in houses that are built in the 80s. The copper coupling seems to have solved the problem. I don't really hear of any failure of the pipes with copper couplings. It might happen, I haven't heard about it, but it's number 3 on the list. The next one on the list, can't leave out the real estate agent. You must have a good real estate agent. It's super important. They're going to find you the home or home site of your choice. They're going to do the proper research. They're going to do the comps, and just be aware of the real estate agent that you select. In South Carolina, there's a buyer's agent agreement, and realtors will ask you to sign that. I ask my clients to sign it. And you're in a relationship with a realtor, and you can't sign 3 or 4 and go all over the place. Choose one, stick with him or her, and you'll be in good hands. But a good, solid realtor with a good, solid company, track record, everything else is imperative. So that's the next one. Financing is the next item on our list. People have worked their entire life. They have homes, they have relationships with bankers, they have lines of credit, they have all of this stuff. Just wanted to let you know we have a lot of really good financing people down here, banks, mortgage companies, all kinds of things like that. So I would consider using a local person only because they really know the drill down here. I've said this before in other videos, but this is important, the financing. You really do need a pre-qualification letter, and your local bank or lending institution will give you that. It's very easy to get. You can get one down here with one of these guys. They may ask you in the contract for a proof of funds just to make sure you can afford it. That's just a statement from your bank. I do have a financing guide that I'll put below in this video. If you'd like that, you can get that. But we give different alternatives. We got some real pros down here. But financing's a biggie, and these days, because of the market, the sellers don't like that financing contingency so much in the contract. It's not a popular thing because it is a contingency, which means the contract could go out for 20 days or 3 weeks or whatever, and all of a sudden you don't qualify and you're out, and they've tied up the house. So we have certain language we can use in the contract, the John Weber team, that will cover you and hook you up with the right financing person to get you a loan to buy the property. So financing is the next one. Next item on the list, home inspector. When you buy a home and you're with a good real estate agent, they're going to recommend a very good home inspector to protect your interest, to make sure that home is good to go. They're going to go, as my late father-in-law used to say, stem to stern. They're going to go over everything. And it's going to cost you, depending on the square feet, it's going to cost you $400 or $500 maybe. If it's a bigger home with a crawl space, that inspector will charge you extra to go into the crawl space, but it's worth it to find out what's going on. So on a bigger, more expensive home with a crawl space, it's going to be more expensive. But we have several inspectors that are excellent, and they're going to identify areas that need to be repaired. When the seller gets the repair request, because it's part of the formal proceedings of the contract, we're going to ask for certain items to be repaired. But there are items that are in the contract that don't have to be repaired, such as fogged windows, which is just an older window. It also means maybe the seal has been compromised, but the seller's not obligated to replace that. So there are certain things in there, but that inspector is really, really important when purchasing a home, and we've got a list of them, and we've got you covered with that. Last item on the list, flood zones. I am going to interview an insurance company in the near future, and we're going to discuss the different floodplains in the low country. But the first thing to know, as I've said in other videos, we're all in a flood zone. All in a flood zone. FEMA just came out with new flood zones. I believe it was last year. COVID slowed it down, but they have new flood zones. Those flood zones actually receded because it's based on annual rainfall. Who would have known? These are sandbags right here. This particular house is in a flood zone of one kind, and these are a precaution that this homeowner is using in case, you know, the water rises. Now, there's no need to get all freaked out about flood zones. Everybody asks me about flood zones. But there are certain, quote, high-risk flood zones, and if you are buying a home or a home site, the bank, if you're financing, they're going to require you to get flood insurance. It's not as expensive as you would think, but they're going to ask you for flood insurance. When I show houses, everybody goes, this isn't a flood zone? This is a flood zone. What flood zone? If I'm going to show you 8 to 10 houses in a day, I'm not going to do all the research on each house to tell you what flood zone it's in, because you may not like any of them. So I will tell you this though, once you get a short list of homes, we're going to find out flood zone, we're going to find out why the owner's moving, why are they selling, what's the past history, the comps, all that good stuff. But flood zones are important down here because you want to preserve your property, obviously. But it's not as bad as the media would make it out to be. There's an awful lot of people living down here, very, very happy, and they just take certain precautions, like sandbags. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate when you all make comments and give a thumbs up. And the amount of people that have contacted the John Weber team. We're with Charter One Realty, by the way. It's been fantastic. When you come down here, we've got you covered with all of these things that I'm talking about in this video. So subscribe to the channel. We'll see you when you come down here. This is fall of 2021, and we look forward to seeing you.